Welcome to the Veterans Joint Endorsement Interviews for Judicial Candidates. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Judge Jacob Reynolds, Department 29, and Judge Mary Perry, Department P. With us today represented are Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Veterans Association, and the Armed Forces Chamber. First, I'd like to go over the format for today. First, the panel members will introduce themselves by stating their names and the organization they represent. Next, each candidate will introduce themselves. Please include your office you're running for and explain why you're seeking that position. We'll then proceed with the interview portion. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. When they have 30 seconds remaining, they will be shown a yellow hand signal, and then when they are done, they will be given another signal. Panel members will not be permitted to ask follow-up questions. With that, we will start round one. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to introduce themselves, starting with you, Judge.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Actually, I'm not judge.
And we'll take turns going first.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Judge Jasmin Lilly-Spells, your current judge in District Court Department 23. I am running a re-election campaign that is based upon integrity, fairness, and public safety. I am honored to be your current judge and ask that you continue to support me in this role.
Good afternoon. My name is Martina Bauhaus. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am currently serving as Assistant General Counsel for Las Vegas Metro Police, and I am running for election because I want to bring a lot of unbiased opinions and integrity to the position.
All right, well, we'll start the round of questioning, starting with you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Jeffrey Lustig. I'm representing Veterans in Politics International. My question is as follows. Clark County has one of the largest veterans populations in all of Nevada, yet veterans in our courts have reported to us that they've routinely faced delayed hearings, sometimes fragmented diversion programs, and inconsistent access to veterans treatment courts depending on which department their case lands in. As a judge, what specific actions would you take within the limits of the Nevada Code of Judicial Conduct to ensure veterans receive equal access to justice, timely adjudications of their cases, and are offered meaningful alternatives to incarceration rather than just having their case be decided by geography or judicial lottery?
Thank you. So currently the 8th Judicial District Court has a veterans court program. It goes into different departments. It used to be in Department 23. I don't know why there was a change, but I have a lot of experience with treatment programs just because as Assistant General Counsel, I have been assigned to the jail. And a lot of the programs are actually going through the jail. So because I have all of those connections and experiences, if some veterans would be assigned to my court, I absolutely know how to attach that. Also, I was married for a long time to an Army member, and I know how stressful it is, especially when he finally got out of the Army. He didn't know what to do. So from personal experience, I also know how difficult it is for veterans to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this question. So I had the privilege of presiding over Veterans Treatment Court for over a year. And when I came in, some of the challenges that I had was that my veterans advocate was moving into a different position. So one of the things that I definitely did to increase our 8th Judicial District Court Veterans Treatment Court program is that I flew in training. As you all know, there's a national organization, and I wanted to make sure that every member of my team was receiving the current training available. So I ensured that every member of the team receive the training available. One of the things to consider here is that it's the attorney's objective and responsibility to inform the courts that the individual is a veteran, because by the time the district court gets this case, we're looking at it at sentencing maybe. And at that time, we can definitely ask those questions, which I do, and then we ask that they submit an application. Being a prior defense attorney, I'm clearly aware and very familiar with these rehabilitation programs. But I would say that on my time as the bench, it was the opportunity that I most enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, my name is John Brookhagen, representing Veterans in Politics. Thank you both ladies for coming today. We really appreciate it. I'd like to know, how do you define the appropriate boundary between interpreting statutes as written and extending those statutes through judicial interpretation, which you're granted in this particular position?
Absolutely. So every case is different, and it's extremely important that I specifically apply the law to the facts in front of me. I recognize that every case that comes before me are human individuals, and that every decision that I make can affect businesses or families extended outside to the citizens, not just the people before me. So I take it very seriously. When the law is gray, then some of the things that we do is we look to our sister states, California and others, to see if they have something a little bit more specific, or we start digging into legislative history to see what the legislators were thinking at the time that they wrote those laws, and that allows us to definitely move forward and follow the rule of the law and the letter of the law. As an incumbent, I am very committed to protecting the rule of the law and following that, and recognizing the three branches of government, that we all have our place there. Thank you.
This is actually what I love about the law, that usually you can follow the straight letter of the law. And probably from my German upbringing, I'm very rigid and very straight to the line. Of course, the beauty of being an attorney is also that you have sometimes laws that are not clear. And one of my frustrations as a litigant, a litigation attorney, has been that judges often abuse the judicial discretion. And it is very, very frustrating when you know you have a winning argument. However, the judge decides to just go by its discretion. There is a way to do it the right way. First, you go look at the legislative intent, and then you go outside and see if there's other cases. But following the strict letter of the law and not doing the judicial discretion would be better.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, candidates. My name is David Farrakhan. I'm with the Armed Forces Chamber. My question is, how familiar are you with the structure of and judicial scope of the 8th District Court? What distinguishes it from other Nevada district courts?
It's me first. Sorry about that. So the 8th Judicial District Court is the largest district court in Nevada, right? Is that what you were asking about? I guess I'm. Yes, please.
Sure. How familiar are you with the structure and judicial scope of the 8th District Court? What distinguishes it from other Nevada district courts?
I don't think it distinguishes itself, but by that it is in the largest county in Nevada. And we have 32 sitting judges currently, and there's a really high caseload for everybody. There are a lot of specialty courts. Washoe County also, district court, has a lot of specialty courts, but really they are doing the most specialty courts right here in Clark County.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. The difference of the 8th Judicial District Court and all of the other district courts in the state of Nevada is very simple. We have a very large county, and we have a lot of people that we have to serve. And so we have created the district court bench, which has civil and criminal, and we've created a separate family court bench. Washoe, I believe, has that. Our other jurisdictions, if you are a sitting judge in this position, you hear everything from family to criminal to civil. Additionally, we have construction defect court. We have business court. We have medical malpractice court. We have murder court, and we have our rehabilitations court. So we have the ability to subspecialize on the district court bench, and so many of us are able to practice in our areas of expertise. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Joanna Farrakhan with the Armed Forces Chamber, and I'd like for you ladies to describe a time when you had to make a legally correct decision that was unpopular with your clients, colleagues, or the public, and how did you handle it? We'll start with you, Judge.
Thank you. So there are a number of times that I have to make unpopular decisions, but at the end of the day, my integrity is what holds me. And so I'm able to go in and make the decisions that apply the facts to the law, the facts and the law to the case in front of me. There have been a number of cases. One of the cases that I presided over was Fred Cease, an individual who was found to be innocent, and I granted him back pay for the amount of years that he'd been in prison. I also recently presided over the matter of ACLU versus Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I was upheld in that decision when I found in favor of ACLU with regard to public records requests. Additionally, I hear criminal cases in additional to civil cases. And so I know often there may be some upset at the decisions that I make in those cases, but understanding that I am doing my best to follow the negotiations between the parties, as well as look at public safety and public welfare. Thank you.
So my experience is advising my client, which happens to be the sheriff of Clark County. And if you have met him, he is a force to be reckoned with. And sometimes we have to give him legal opinions that the public will not like, and sometimes he doesn't like. And what I have done, and this happens more than once, but my job as assistant general counsel is to make sure that I give him solid legal advice, and then he makes the decision, right? But I will not make just because he wants a certain outcome, I will not write him an opinion that will make him happy. I want him to understand the full consequences of whatever question he asks in a legal perspective.
I'm sorry, can you pronounce your name again for me?
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus. I don't want to butcher it. I'm sorry.
Bauhaus.
All right, thank you. All right, so a significant portion of the public is concerned that lenient sentencing erodes public safety and minimizes the suffering of victims. Conversely, many advocates argue that incarceration without addressing underlying service-connected trauma like PTSD or TBI doesn't mitigate recidivism and doesn't adequately improve public safety. So, Ms. Bauhaus, according to your webpage, all 11 of your endorsements are from law enforcement. How would you reassure veteran defendants that your courtroom is truly a neutral ground, given that aspect? And for both of you, what specific criteria would you use to determine when a veteran's service-connected circumstances make them good candidates for diversionary or alternative sentencing versus punitive sentencing?
Sure. Thank you for that question. That's actually part of my passion. I have served now as Assistant General Counsel for the jail, the Clark County Detention Center, which is the largest mental health facility in Clark County. I have a little bit of a different view of the law enforcement probably than people think, because I have seen firsthand a lot of mentally ill coming through our facility. I have appeared in court trying to get them help because either working with their defense attorney or also inside of the jail. I have worked on programs that we bring in certain groups, and I have assisted the chief of the jail in bringing those programs in, which includes help for veterans.
Thank you very much. My entire career, I've been a litigator, and what that means is that I've been before the courts 4 out of 5 days a week, and now that I am the sitting judge, I'm in court approximately 4 out of 5 days out of the week. I uniquely understand how to weigh mitigation and aggravation. And that is what you're doing when you're looking at whether or not someone is going to be a candidate who is going to be successful in these types of programs. While on the bench, I make decisions using compassion, integrity, and accountability. Compassion looks at the humanistic aspect of everything involved, the victims and the defendants. Integrity to uphold the rule of law, and accountability to not only ensure that I'm accountable to the voters who elected me, but accountable to the individuals that I put in those programs, and that they're accountable to the requirements that I set for them, which I did while presiding over Veterans Treatment Court.
Jeffrey Lustig, Veterans in Politics International. Clark County is a small legal community where judges routinely encounter former clients, prior colleagues, political endorsers, major donors, and law enforcement officers, and sometimes repeat litigants within their courtrooms. Under the Nevada Code of Judicial Conduct, recusal is required not only for actual bias, but when a judge's impartiality might be reasonably questioned. Describe a real-world scenario in which recusal would be ethically required, even though you believe that you could be fair, and explain how you would disclose that conflict on the record without undermining public confidence in the judiciary.
Who's starting? Okay, thank you. Well, while I've been on the bench, as I said, integrity is one of my core principles. And so I've actually had this. I had to sentence an individual who was accused of sexual assault of a child of a school where my child used to attend the school. My child was in the daycare portion. This individual worked in the high school portion. I informed them of that. And I always let the parties know, hey, this is my connection to anything. Does anyone have a concern? Do you want to lodge an objection if I'm not going to personally recuse? And I let their voices be heard. I've also had this situation, we all have family and friends that we're aware of, right? I've had maybe friends of a family member come into court, and so I'm always honest. I call them up, hey, this is who I know, this is how I know them, this is my stance. If I personally know the party I'm recusing, otherwise I let them be heard on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I would say my answer is probably similar to that, because yes, I've been in Las Vegas for 32 years, so I have a lot of people that I know, but that doesn't mean I like them necessarily. So just because we know each other doesn't mean you're going to get a leg up. But in all sincerity, I would say yes. Absolutely. You have to disclose it to the parties. There's nothing worse than to find out later on that there are some relationships. But let's face it, Las Vegas is still a small city compared to other places, and you are going to have relationship with people. But disclosure is absolutely necessary. Thank you.
John Brookhagen, Veterans in Politics. We'll start with Ms. Bauhaus. In cases that may generate significant public attention or emotional impact, what professional practices help you ensure that external pressures do not influence your interpretation or application of the law?
In my current business, it actually happens all the time. Las Vegas Metro Police has a high-profile case every day. It goes through our office every day. And it really doesn't, after all of these years doing that, it doesn't affect me anymore. Similar with the Clark County Detention Center, we have high-profile individuals in the jail all the time. It really doesn't affect how I make decisions for my current client.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this question. As stated, in every case that comes before me, I'm looking at fairness, integrity, and accountability. And so that is how I make the decisions before me. I apply the law to the specific facts in front of me. It doesn't matter who the parties are in front of me. It doesn't matter whether it's a political case, whether I'm on TV, whether I have notice or not. And that is shown through my record. I've been on the bench approximately 5 years, and all of my matters that have been appealed, I have a very low error rate. And so it's shown through the fact that my cases are being upheld on appeal, that I am applying the facts to the law to the facts of the cases in front of me, and doing it with fairness, integrity, and accountability. Thank you.
David Farrakhan, Armed Forces Chamber. Judge, I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. Yes. A jury returns a verdict that triggers strong public backlash. How do you address post-trial motions alleging jury misconduct without appearing reactive to public pressure?
Thank you so much. So first and foremost, the work that the juries do is just so instrumental, and our system would not work without it. So I thank the citizens who come in and do that. And they need to be protected in that capacity. If individuals are filing motions, then I'm going to do the necessary work. Likely, I would set an evidentiary hearing where witnesses would come and testify, and I would hear the case on its merits. As I stated before, I am guided by my judicial philosophy, which is going to be fairness, integrity, and accountability. So whether the public likes the decision or dislikes the decision, I know that if I've applied those three things to each case, that I've done the right thing.
There's always a decision that the public is not going to like. However, being in a courtroom and out of experience, I know that a lot of things that are later on in the paper or that the public is actually aware of does not come out in court, right? So situations are different. Also, when you are looking at the record, that's why when you have a jury trial or a bench trial, you have a record, right? So that's when you go and look at the motions and see if they're actually supported by the record. But you just hold a hearing in a civil case or in a criminal case. It doesn't matter which case it is. You just have a hearing and see if the law was applied and if there's any truth to these allegations.
Thank you.
Joanna Farrakhan, Armed Forces Chamber. How do you handle self-represented litigants while maintaining neutrality and avoiding the appearance of advocacy? And I'll start with you, Martina.
I actually deal with a lot of self-represented litigants. I currently have taken over the forfeiture section for LVMPD, and a lot of these people are self-represented. In my previous job at the Attorney General's office, I also dealt with a lot of self-represented litigants. So I know some of them are very unfamiliar with the rules. And even now with the forfeitures, my office staff assists them. Even though we can't give them legal advice, we kind of tell them, hey, you have to file an answer by this date. Hey, maybe you should look and hire an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, a lot of people can't afford an attorney. So you hold them still to the rules, but sometimes you just have to tell them you have to be very specific in how you tell them the system works.
Thank you so much. So one of the first things that I want to ensure is when people come into the courtroom, they're treated with respect. Oftentimes, a courtroom is a place that's really scary for people. And so I do my best to ensure that the courtroom is a welcoming place because it is the citizens' courtroom. It's not my courtroom. I've actually presided over trials where I've had self-litigant individuals. And one of the things that I allowed that individual to approach the bench. I spoke to my security team first. I didn't want any sign to the juror that this individual was in custody or otherwise. I wanted him to be treated the same way as any other counsel. That was important to me. Additionally, I'm in community. I'm a mom of 4. I just came from 2 different events this morning. And so I have forged relationships with individuals who have those resources, and I keep a copy of the resources on my bench so that I can inform people. These are the resources that you can reach out to assist you. These are the phone numbers to potentially get a free counsel or the steps to take to work through this. Thank you.
So, you mentioned earlier about making sure that your staff got some training.
Yes.
Or something. So my question is along those same lines. So Nevada authorizes cultural competency training for judicial officers, which includes understanding unique needs of veterans, but it's not just veterans. There are multiple different areas on that I noticed. But it's unique needs of veterans, such as military culture, trauma, and behavioral health, to ensure fair and informed courtroom proceedings. So for you, for either of you, I guess. Have you completed veteran cultural competency training? And if not, would you be willing to do so? And also, at being the managers of your staff, would you be willing to and at least strongly motivate your staff to do the same?
Thank you very much. It's very important to me that the bench represents the fabric of the community from all walks of diversity. And so, as I stated, not only did I fly people in to train my Veterans Treatment Court team, but I've also gone to the Veterans Programming, which is a national programming that is approximately a week. So I've had a lot of training in Veterans Treatment Courts and the things that are significant to veterans. Additionally, I'm in the community by having those relationships, by showing up, whether it's Hispanic in politics, whether it's the Black Attorneys Association, or whether it's the local Little League, whatever that is. And so I get to understand from citizens what's important to them, what their unique characteristics are, and how I can connect with them on a human level. And that's the most important way that we ensure that we're training. By the way, I don't hire anyone if they're not kind. My number one requirement is, can you communicate with people? And if people are in my courtroom, are they going to say that you treated them with kindness? And if that doesn't fly, regardless of what their rank is in law school or otherwise, they don't come on my team.
I have witnessed firsthand what our military members go through. I was a wife of a U.S. Army soldier, later on sergeant, and through our friends and families, I know how difficult it is. It was difficult for him when he retired. His dad was a drill sergeant. Yes. And it was difficult for him to get used to the normal life again. So he became a school bus driver, if you believe it or not. But and absolutely, not only do I think I'm formed through my personal experiences, but also I think you always educate yourself. You always go to other groups. That's why I have been meeting with Steve and Stephanie. Thank you.
Jeff Lustig again from Veterans Politics International. Clark County judges carry some of the heaviest and most emotionally taxing dockets in the state of Nevada, whether it's criminal, or civil, or treatment court. Now, in recent years, we have seen judges who have unfortunately experienced some serious personal consequences in their public life and in their private life, including divorces. Some have entered treatment. We've even had a judge commit suicide on the bench. And when this happens, the judiciary continues to go on and preside over cases involving liberty, family integrity, and incarceration. My question for you is, have you considered, and can you tell us about, what point does unmanaged stress, burnout, and declining personal well-being cease to be a private matter and become an ethical concern? And what is your responsibility that you have as a judge to recognize when you're no longer able to serve on the bench and to seek help?
Me first? Okay. I think it is very damaging to the judiciary when judges cannot follow the rule of the law. I think that because we are in such a public light at all times, especially judges, how can I, as a normal citizen, come into a courtroom knowing that the judge that I am in front of cannot follow the rules themselves? That is a very difficult understanding for the public to do. As for burnout, my job is 24/7. I have 2 phones on me at all time. I know how to de-stress. And I have a very active teenager at home that helps. But I do think that judges are held to a higher standard.
Thank you. So I personally had that experience. 4 years ago on Mother's Day, I had a public dispute with my ex-husband, who also was a veteran and served our country for a number of years, and it led to my arrest. And while it's something that I don't talk about often, it's not because I'm ashamed of it. It actually is just because, as we know, marriage is hard, family is private. And as a mom, my most important job is to protect my 4 heartbeats. And so I also, as a public official, owe the voters who elected me accountability and honesty. And so I took accountability in my case, and it's made me a better judge. It's made me have better temperament. It's made me understand the people who come before me more and be able to understand the humanistic aspect of that. I also surround myself with the people who are non-attorneys, people who tell me, hey, I'm going to call you on your stuff, because that's what we all need. I can't grow and get better as a mom, as a friend, as a community advocate, or as a judge unless I have people who aren't afraid to tell me the truth. And so I sought help when I needed it. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys and your department do or will handle serious criminal matters, and sentencing discretion is permitted by statute. What factors or guides do you use to make sure that discretion is similarly delegated for or situated for individuals so they receive consistent treatment under the law?
Sometimes we hear people say that justice has a blind eye, but I think that if you have a blind eye, then you're not looking at the case in front of you or the person or the impact to the victim or the impact to the community. And so with each case, I'm going to apply fairness, integrity, and accountability. I'm going to look at prior criminal record. I'm going to look at the support that the individual has in the community and the systems that we can potentially place for them to have structure. Anything that can assist them in being a productive citizen, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at the facts of the case if they're egregious. I'm going to ask the state if they asked the victim for their input prior to pleading the case and what the negotiation is. And then I'm going to look at whether I should follow the negotiation before me and whether it, again, applies fairness, integrity, and accountability, and also consider public safety.
Public safety, I think, has been put away for a couple of years. I believe, yes, there are sentencing guidelines, and the parties often make deals, plea deals. That doesn't mean that the judge has to follow the plea deal. I believe that every case is unique. However, there's still rules, and if you violate the rules, you need to have consequences. That's very important for not only the victims, but also the community at large. Therefore, the judicial discretion should be very limited in how less of a sentence you are giving.
Thank you.
Thank you, David Farrakhan with the Armed Forces Chamber. I want to ask somewhat of a follow-up question. I'm going to start with the judge. Tell us about a legal position you once strongly held that changed after further study or experience. What caused the shift?
I don't have any legal positions that have strongly changed because I recognize the importance of our three equal branches of government and the role that a judge plays. As a judge, I am a neutral individual who looks at the case in front of me. I apply the law and the facts to the case in front of me. And so I can tell you that there are many legal decisions that I have made that don't align with my personal viewpoints, my personal views, even potentially my party affiliation or some of the hot topics. But what I do is I follow the rule of the law. I look at fairness, integrity, accountability. And so I can't answer that question for you because I'm always making decisions that sometimes don't align with what my personal points of view are. Thank you so much.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Tell us about a legal position you once strongly held that changed after further study or experience, and what caused the shift?
I wouldn't say it is a legal experience that would have changed. I think as a young attorney, I was very, let's say, disillusioned still about the system that we're in. I thought that, hey, as long as I apply the law and follow the law, I'm going to win. And I learned fairly quickly that that's not the case, that even judges on the bench have biases and that they sometimes, even the law is clear, do not rule your way. So I wouldn't say it's a legal position that has changed, but it's more an understanding of the system.
Thank you.
Joanna Farrakhan with the Armed Forces Chamber. In a media-saturated case, how do you protect juror impartiality while respecting the First Amendment considerations?
First, thank you. So when the jury is selected, they do not have access, or they're admonished not to have access to any of the media that is outside. You, of course, don't know when they go home if they follow that. I actually know of a couple of cases where that was not the case. And when the judge finds out after that, then you have to basically unseat the jury, right? There's media everywhere. You're never going to, and the CSI effect is real. So by explaining to the jury their position and how essential they are to the judicial system, and that the individuals in front of them get a fair shake, I think that is the best way to ensure that they do not do extracurricular activities.
Thank you. So while on the bench, I've tried a number of cases, and as a litigator, I tried a number of cases. I have a large, extensive trial experience, and this is a trial court. I have found that juries want to do the right thing, and they absolutely are trying to get it right. They're taking time out of their lives to come and sit and do a service to the community. And so at the beginning of every trial, I explain to them what the role is, what the guidelines are. Additionally, the law requires that we read an admonishment before absolutely every break. And so I ensure that I am applying the rules in that. And every time they have a break, I inform them that they're not allowed to talk to anyone. They're not allowed to get on social media and discuss the facts of the case until they have rendered a verdict. We're very clear to where I even tell them, you can't even talk to someone in the elevator or ask them what time it is. And if they tell you good morning, they won't respond. And by being clear, I have found that the jury follows those rules, and we maintain fair, great trials with upheld verdicts. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our round of questioning. I'd like to give each candidate 1 minute to give some closing remarks, starting with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I always enjoyed coming into this building, believe it or not, because I've been treated by Steve and by Stephanie very well. I'm running for judge because I do believe that our judiciary needs to be held to a higher standard than the general public. You are a public official. You are deciding people's lives. You are putting yourself out there, and with that comes a higher responsibility. I have a lot of litigation experience. I've been a litigator for many, many years. I've been an attorney for over 21 years in different positions, not just one track. So I have a lot of experience in different sort of situations, as well as in my background. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm your current judge, Jasmin Lilly-Spells from District Court Department 23. I've had the pleasure and honor of serving as your judge for the past 5 years. And prior to that, for over a decade, I had the pleasure of protecting all of our constitutional rights. This is your trial court. Anything above this court is appellate review, and anything below the court doesn't really do trials. I am not currently advising individuals on what the best course of action is in a particular case, and I haven't been advising individuals for quite some time. Even when I had clients, my place was in the courtroom all day, every day, litigating cases. So I know how a trial performs from the beginning to the end. I have the necessary experience for this type of courtroom. It's not administrative law. It's not adversary law. It is a trial court. I am continued to remain committed to my philosophy of fairness, integrity, and accountability, and I will uphold that. I ask that you continue to support me in this position as your current judge in Department 23. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for your professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you.